What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing the Great League Battle of Spice. And for anyone new to the channel or unfamiliar with the Battle of Spice, this is a competition that I host in the Go Battle League every season during the Go Battle weekend, where the aim is to record a win with the spiciest and most unique team you can possibly put together. Now the community will then vote in a series of polls for the team they thought was spiciest. Now for the first time ever, there was also a Great League Classic Edition where XL Pokemon were banned, and there will be a separate video coming soon for that. But in this video there were no restrictions, and you'll be seeing some of the most insane teams, but also some of the most impressive wins that have ever occurred in the Go Battle League. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. What's the spiciest Pokemon or team you have ever used in the Go Battle League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, and we are starting things off with a bang. We've got a triple level 50 Hundo team with the costume Psyduck and a costume Bulbasaur. The opponent leading with Talonflame, Safe swapping into Credilli. We can come in with the Bulbasaur. Unfortunately, it looks like two rock teams will very comfortably take us out here, so it might be quite tricky to maintain alignment, but we fire off a Sludge Bomb. Credilli shielding from a Bulbasaur. Seriously? Well, we're going to now shield Matt Shields there with the rock team and go for another Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb now going to be double debuffed. Sludge Bomb doesn't really do that much damage, unfortunately, and the opponent actually makes a really nice catch there, catching a double resisted Seed Bomb back onto the Talonflame. However, we can come back in with that Psyduck and go straight for an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and if we shield here, we might even still outpace them to the next Aqua Tail, so we will shield, and Psyduck is going to outpace. We get to Aqua Tail number 2, and of course, from this range, it takes out the Talonflame. They come back in with Credilli, and they actually do a great job of over-farming as well there. The opponent firing off the Grass Knot, getting the KO there. We come back in with the Bulbasaur just to force them to throw their energy straight away. Now, our final Pokemon is going to be a Mudkip. Mudkip is actually just a pure Water-type Pokemon. The opponent not dealing that much damage with the Bullet Seeds. They come in with their final Pokemon, which is going to be a Wigglytuff, but we've got Sludge for coverage. First one does big damage, and we actually win CMP, it looks like, with a second Sludge. We get the KO, and one more Water Gun farms down Credilli, which I believe did have a charge we've banked, and we're able to take that game. So into the next battle, we're going to see Vullaby in the lead. Going to be safe swapping, as we are unfortunately met with a Charger Bug, and we swap into a Shadow Alolan Grimer. The opponent fires off the discharge there, and then swaps into a Shadow for Alligator. But of course, we're resisting the fast food damage. We can go for Crunch. Crunch going to grab a shield, and if they commit to a farm down, we can reach a second Crunch before they get there, and the opponent going to be forced to double shield the Feraligatr. Now, of course, Vullaby is quite a bulky Pokemon. Obviously not, well, maybe not that obvious because people don't really use it, but it is fairly bulky. Not quite as bulky as Mandibuzz, but we can tank a Hydro Cannon there. I'm going to shield the next one. The opponent swaps back into Charger Bug, and they will actually outpace us before we do reach a potential Brave Bird. So actually going to shield the discharge here. I'm going to go for one Air Slash, firing off Brave Bird straight away. Brave Bird easily gets the one shot there. And now we're going to swap straight away into our Shadow Alolan Sandshrew. The opponent comes back in with Feraligatr, and unfortunately this Hydro Cannon is going to do quite a lot of damage. Hydro Cannon gets us incredibly low, but they swap into Credilli, and the opponent not choosing to throw, instead committing to the farm down, but that's a huge mistake as Blizzard gets the one shot there. And now we can come in, go for the Air Slash farm down, taking out Feraligatr, and we're able to take that game. So, going into the next battle, we got Shadow Scyther in the lead up against a Drifblim. Of course, going to safe swap into Porygon 2, and whilst we are resisting their fast moves, we actually only have resisted damage to deal as well, and even worse, they now come in with a Ferrothorn, another Pokemon that is going to resist everything we can throw, but we do get a Tri-Attack debuff immediately with our first use here. Tri-Attack number 2 is once again going to debuff both their attack and their defense. So at this point, we're actually going to shield the Power Whip. Our switch clock is now up. We can come in with the Shadow Scyther, and unfortunately not able to go for a full farm down before they reach a Thunder, so going to go for a Trailblaze. Trailblaze boost up our attack stat, and unfortunately we do not have access to Night Slash, but we're going to look to throw on CMP here, forcing the CMP tie. Trailblaze going to be shielded, as the opponent probably expected a Night Slash there. At this point, we definitely just let the move go through. And we're now going to come back in with the Porygon 2. We're going to have to go for a Solar Beam here. As, well, Tri-Attack is double resisted. Solar Beam does decent damage, but we cannot commit to Farm Down. But the opponent not prepared for that swap. We get the Dragon Breath Farm Down, but we're met with a Azumarill in the back. And honestly, it feels like we've only been able to deal resisted damage so far in this battle. And this is going to be no different. But we've still got a shield here. Honestly, I can't see how we can possibly win this game. We've only got Dragon Pulse and Hydro Pump. Now, of course, the opponent still has a shield here. We are going to need to make a catch, so we are going to swap, and we perfectly catch onto our 1 HP Shadow Porygon 2, and now, of course, it's going to be a race. Can we get to the Hydro Pump in time? And we actually get there. This is resisted damage, but from Shadow Seadra, it takes out Azumarill, and that might just be the most impressive win I have ever seen in the Go Battle League. Honestly, how did we win that game? We only had resisted damage throughout the entire battle. But anyways, into next battle, we've got a triple water starter middle stage evolution team here with Oshawott in the lead, I think it was. We swap into Prinplup, and we are going to be met with a Whiscash, but actually not that bad for us. We can go for these Icy Winds. They are non-stab, but they are going to debuff their attack stat. And potentially, now we can live this next Mud Bomb and maybe even go for a full Bubble Farm Down. We know Shield Prinplup wins the Zero Shield scenario there and also reaches an Icy Wind into the Wigglytuff. So very nice. Icy Wind, gonna be no shielded. It drops their attack stats. We can now come in with Wartortle, which is actually fairly bulky. We're gonna no shield. They actually go for Disarming Voice there, which is quite interesting, of course. Typically gonna see the Swift and Icy Wind combination, but either way, we go for an Aqua Jet. We don't throw on the best timing, and the opponent can now reach another charge move here. The opponent is once again going to go for another Disarming Voice, but now we commit to a full Farm Down. What is their final Pokemon? It's going to be a Bastiodon, and things are looking very good for us as we can go for the Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet grabs the final shield. We can reach a second Aqua Jet here before they farm us down, and then of course, all we need to do is swap into the Oshawott, and I assume 2 Aqua Tails should be enough damage to get the KO here. But I guess we're going to see the first one is going to deal decent damage there, so the opponent just concedes the match. Now going into the next battle, we're going to see Delibird in the lead. This is going to be a level 50 hundo. We're going to say swap into Aron, as unfortunately that is not a great matchup for us. And we can go for a Body Slam straight away. Body Slam going to be shielded by the Sizzle. They bank some energy, but then they swap into Azumarill. And that's fine with us. We can go for Rock Tombs here. Rock Tombs are going to deal decent damage. They're going to drop their attack as well. We are going to resist the charge moves, which is quite nice. So the opponent probably just going to commit to a full Farm Down. We go for Rock Tomb number 2. We get them fairly low. And then we come in with the Shadow Magnemite, and they do throw here, but they're double debuffed, so we're gonna no shield. Ice Beam does very little damage. They don't reach another charge move, and they've got a Credilli as their final Pokemon. They are absolutely core broken by Shadow Magnemite. That does so much damage. Unfortunately, just barely doesn't quite get the KO there, but doesn't really make a difference here. We should be able to reach back-to-back discharges up against the Shadow Scizor. The opponent is gonna fire off the first one. We now already have the energy for the second one, but we're actually going to swap into a Delibird. We tried to catch a charge move. Doesn't work out as they fully farm us down there, but it doesn't make a difference. Shadow Magnemite, sorry, is going to win CMP up against Scizor, getting the KO, and we're able to take that game. Potentially we swapped out there just to clear the debuff from that Credilli, but either way, into next battle, we're going to see Como-O in the lead. We've got a triple Kanto Bird trio here with the Zapdos in the lead. We fire off the Drill Peck, and we are certainly going to shield. The opponent is going to go ahead and full send the Clanging Scales, but then they swap into Corviknight. They are core broken by the Zapdos. We're going straight for Thunderbolt here. Thunderbolt is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and the opponent is going to outpace us to the charge move. We are actually going to double shield. They full send the payback. We can now look to overfarm just slightly and fire off a Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is going to get the KO there. Let's see what they want to do. The opponent is going to think about it. They're going to come in with the Shadow Scizor. They're on Fury Cutter here, which is also resisted. However, it does generate energy slightly faster, and as a result, it does actually allow them to just barely reach a Night Slash. Night Slash gets the KO there. They actually get a boost, which doesn't really help them. We're going to swap. We're going to make a catch here. Presumably, going to be another Clanging Scales. Clanging Scales easily one-shots the Moltres, but now we can come in with the Articuno. I'm going to go straight for a triple Axle, boosting up our attack stat. One more Ice Shard, takes out the Shadow Scizor, and we're able to take that game. So, heading into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Bayleaf into Talonflame. So, of course, not a great matchup, but the Bayleaf does have access to Ancient Power for coverage. And speaking of coverage, this Shadow Flaffy has Trailblaze. Trailblaze, not respected. It boosts up our attack stat as well. And now we can also reach a Departing Discharge up against the Talonflame, grabbing a shield advantage and switch advantage. We're going to come in with the Shiny Shadow Growlithe, and we're also going to win CMP here with the Body Slam. Body Slam, going to be no shielded, but we're still in an okay position here. We are going to shield. They do have quite a lot of energy on the Talonflame, so they are going to fire off back to back, but that's okay with us. We can just double shield here. The opponent now going to swap into a Licky. We can come in with the Shadow Bayleaf. Bayleaf is actually fairly bulky, so we of course have no shields remaining. They full send the Shadow Ball there. We are now going to look to fire off a Grass Knot just before they reach that next charge attack. Grass Knot, going to grab the final shield, and the opponent will throw another Shadow Ball likely straight away. So Shadow Ball gets the KO there. We can come back in with the Growlithe. We are over farming massively. Gonna full send a Flamethrower. Flamethrower gets the KO, and now we're 2 away from the next Body Slam already. And of course, Body Slam up against the Talonflame. We'll be getting the KO there, and we're able to take that game. So, going into the next battle, we've got a triple crab theme team here, leading with Dwebble into Talonflame. You love to see it. Look at the smackdown damage. The opponent's going to say swap into Clodza. We're going to come in with a Corphish. Now, I believe this Corphish is just ever so slightly under-leveled. I believe it's like 48.5 or something like that. Either way, we're going to go for a Scald. Scald is going to grab a shield from the opponent, unfortunately not dropping their attack stat there. We do reach a last-second Razor Shell. This is not a very good charge move, but it does actually force the final shield, and it drops their defense as well, which is very nice. At this point, going to shield our Krabby as they fire off a Sludge Bomb. They can reach yet another charge move, but this will just be another Sludge Bomb. So, Sludge Bomb, still going to do quite a lot of damage, but we do get the full bubble farm down. They're going to come in with a Drifblim, so we're going straight for Water Pulse here. Water Pulse does big damage. We come in with the Dwebble. We get the full farm down, and that is absolutely game over. Of course, going to go for Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb, double super effective. Dwebble easily taking out the Talonflame, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see Servine into a Shadow Dusclops. So, Servine, also a very bulky Grass-type Pokemon. We're going straight for Leaf Tornado here. Leaf Tornado gonna drop their attack stat. That is absolutely huge for us. Expecting Ice Punch very likely as coverage. The opponent actually baits with a Shadow Punch. That's fine with us. We're going to no shield once again. This time they go for Ice Punch, but you can see with that debuff to their attack stat, we tank that very comfortably, and we get a second debuff there, meaning we can probably win the zero shield scenario up against a Pokemon that has super effective coverage. So, I'm going to go for yet another Leaf Tornado. Leaf Tornado, not going to be shielded. It gets the KO there. They're going to come in with the Dene, and unfortunately, we just barely missed out on reaching yet another Leaf Tornado, and this is quite problematic for us. They've got quite a huge energy advantage. We're going to come in with our Hatchrim here, and we are going to go straight for Psyshock. However, unfortunately, they will be able to outpace us to the next few charge moves. So, we're kind of have to let one move go through here. We will no shield as they fire off the Parabolic Charge. Unfortunately, we lose CMP. Honestly, I have no idea what the stats are on this Pokemon. I've never seen it in battle before. But either way, we go for another Psyshock. Psyshock gonna be double shielded by Dedenne, and at this point, they can still outpace us to the next charge attack, and all we've got left is a Corvisquire. So, of course, not ideal for us in the slightest. We do have access to Sand Attack as the fast move, however. I think actually you would prefer to run Peg, but in this case, obviously Sand Attack is better for us. They swap, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Primate, but that's fine with us. We've got Sky Attack. Sky Attack does huge damage. It actually doesn't quite get the farm down there, but we can Sand Attack, farm down both remaining Pokemon, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we have a crazy Triple XL team here. We're going to be swapping into our Yamask, Galarian Yamask, as they fire off a Discharge. That is double resisted trainer. They're now going to swap into a Skeleturge, and we are so far ahead on energy. We go straight for the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb debuffs their attack stat, and we're already at Rock Tomb number 2. Rock Tomb is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and they are going to fire off a charge move. They full send the blast burn there. I believe they farmed up to one away from one away from back-to-back charge moves, so they are now at a second blast burn. And even though they're double debuffed, I think it is safe just to shield here. Anyways, we're now going to look to overfarm. They swap, but they swap into Trevenant, a Pokemon that we completely wall with our Farfetch'd. That is a very questionable decision, but either way, I'm going to go for another Air Cutter here, overfarming just slightly. Air Cutter gets the KO. They're going to come back in with the Galvantula. Unfortunately, no boost with the Air Cutter just yet, and yet again no boost, but it doesn't really matter. We can actually save our shield for our Mareep in the back, go for a resisted Thundershock farm down, go straight for a discharge into Skeledirge coming back in, and from this range, discharge gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. So going into next battle, we've got a triple shiny Shadow Theme team. This trainer did make a mistake with the graphic that they sent in with their submission, but actually, I think this looks kind of cool, so I don't really mind it at all. Either way, we're going to stay in with our shiny Shadow Hypno. I'm going to go for a Thunder Punch here, and we can actually outpace them to the next charge attack as well if they do shield here, which is quite ideal for us, since of course Confusion does now generate energy slightly faster. So we grab both shields from the opponent, happy to let the Shadow Hypno go down. The opponent goes for another Flame Charge there, so definitely going to come in with our shiny Shadow Arcanine, and we will just fire off a Crunch immediately. Now Crunch will be enough damage to get the KO there. They're going to come in with a Feraligatr, but unfortunately for them, we've got access to Wild Charge. We're full sending it. Wild Charge gets the one shot there. Their final Pokemon going to be a Primeape, and this is absolutely game over. We're on Confusion, dealing big damage with the fast moves. We could go for Poison Fang, but actually we're just going to commit one shield and then commit to a full Confusion farm down. And of course, Confusion takes out the Primeape, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we've got a ABB style team with a Trubbish and a Shadow Garbodor, and the opponent comes in with a Swampert. We're going straight for Seed Bomb, but unfortunately that doesn't quite get the one shot there. That is kind of disappointing. That's probably the first time I've ever seen Shadow Swampert tank a double super effective charge move. But either way, we're going to come back in with the Linoon. We are going to shield a Hydro Cannon, then commit to a full Snarl farm down, one away from a Gunk Shot. The opponent comes back in with the Ninetales. This is just going to be a weather ball, so we will no shield this. And now we are full sending the Gunk Shot. Can this connect here? Gunk Shot, not respected. It gets the one shot there. They come in with a Quagsire, and they might end up shielding this now, having seen that damage. And they do. They shield a Body Slam. That's fine with us. And presumably, we've also got Seed Bomb for coverage on our Shadow Garbodor. So we're going to come in with a Garbodor here, and we should be fine, as long as they're not on Mud Bomb. We will unfortunately need to tank a Charge Move here, so going to no-shield the first. The opponent goes for an Aqua Tail, and we're actually going to bait with a Body Slam. I don't think we really need to do this, but Body Slam is going to grab the final shield. Of course, now we definitely just shield their final charge move. We go for one more Infestation, and of course, we reach the Seed Bomb, but from a Shadow, Seed Bomb gets the one shot this time, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we've got a triple level 50 flying type team here, leading with the Fletchinder. We say swap into Corvisquire. This time, we are on Peck as the fast move. The opponent fires off the Aqua Tail before swapping into a Dusclops. Now, this is fine with us. We've got Payback for coverage, like its evolution. Payback is going to deal huge damage there. And at this point, we probably just no-shield this. The opponent can just settle for a Shadow Punch, unfortunately. And they do get the KO there. But that's fine. We come in with a Vullaby, and we are going to no-shield. This could be an Ice Punch, but Ice Punch doesn't deal that much damage. As I mentioned already, Vullaby actually fairly bulky. Now, they're going to come in with a Melmetal, certainly not ideal for us, but we're going straight for Foul Play. Foul Play doesn't really deal that much damage, and now we swap back into Fletchinder. We are going to shield here as the opponent is going to go for the Rock Slide. That is going to hit for double super effective. Then I'll come back in with the Shadow Dragonair. We can go straight for a Fly. Fly is going to grab the first shield here. And unfortunately, they should be able to outpace us to another Arctotail before we get to back-to-back Flies, but we are going to look to overfarm. So Fly coming through, Fly gonna grab the final shield, we overfarm and we swap and we perfectly catch a charge move, which is great for us because the opponent actually also overfarmed in that scenario. We come back in with the Melmetal, again gonna go for that Foul Play. Foul Play doesn't get the KO, but that puts them into perfect Ember farm down range. The opponent goes for double Iron Bash there, they get the KO, but we get that farm down. We leave with the Fly loaded, and of course, Fly up against Shadow Dragonair, gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So heading into the next battle, we've got Pormo, not Pormot, but Pormo, the pre-evolution, which has the same typing as its evolution. However, I don't think it has any fighting type coverage. I think there was actually a mistake during its community day where they accidentally gave this Pokemon access to Brick Break. But either way, not a great matchup for us. We safe swap into our Shadow Devotion. Look at how much damage we've already taken from those bug bites, from these hexes. We can reach a Psyshock. Psyshock does at least grab a shield there. But, yeah, we're not in a great position. We come back in with the Pormo, they fire off the Shadow Punch, and they will outpace us to the next charge attack, so we are going to shield here. We're now going to look to overfarm, fire off a Wild Charge. Then, honestly, I don't really know what we do here. We're actually going to swap into our Shadow Reuniclus. Now, Reuniclus, not quite as glassy as Duosion, so we should tank a Shadow Punch. Not comfortably, but we do tank it nonetheless, and the opponent also throws on CMP here. So, Psyshock gets them very low, and they do get stuck in that CMP tie. So, of course, Shadow Punch gets the KO there. The opponent's going to have a Blastoise in the back. We're resisting the rollouts. And, of course, this Wild Charge is going to hit for huge damage. Wild Charge gets the one-shot. They're in one Thundershock farm down range. So, we get the farm down there, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we've got the full Cyndaquil evolution line here, leading with Shadow Typhlosion. The opponent safe swaps into Florges, and we are trying to throw on good timing. However, that does allow the opponent to overfarm massively. So here, we're going to fire off a Thunder Punch. They've debuffed our attack stat. We can reach a second Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is debuffed, however, but it does still grab the final shield. So we're also going to double shield our Shadow Typhlosion, presumably then going to look to swap out now after being double debuffed, and we come in with the Quilava. The opponent goes for another Chilling Water there before swapping into a Clodsire. Now, we do have access to Dig. However, of course, they have just debuffed our attack stat. So Dig coming through doesn't really do that much damage at all. Now, we can reach a second Dig here, but Dig, again, not going to deal that much damage, but the opponent is still forced to throw here. They can't really commit to a farm down, so they fire off the Sludge Bomb. We're going to come in with the Cyndaquil, and the opponent has not gone for an Earthquake. This is just another Sludge Bomb, which we tank very comfortably. The opponent swaps back into Wigglytuff, but now we can come in with Typhlosion. Typhlosion, Blast Burn, gets the one-shot there. They come back in with the Florges just to be farmed down, and the opponent is just going to concede the match. Now going into the final battle here, and we've got a trio of Pokemon that basically have a head as their entire body, basically, with Glalie, Spiritomb, and Cryogonal. The opponent fires off the Superpower. We actually tanked that, which is quite surprising. We are now going to fire off an Avalanche, grabbing a shield from the opponent. Not looking to swap out there, which is also a little bit strange, but now we can come in with the Spiritomb. They've been debuffed, so we are going to no-shield. They go for Foul Play. I'm also realizing they are on Peck rather than Psywave, which is definitely better for them in this situation. But either way, we're going to shield the next charge move. They swap into Mandibuzz, and we're going straight for Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb gonna be shielded by the opponent. Unfortunately, I believe Cryogonal, whilst yes, it's an Ice-type Pokemon, it only has access to Night Slash and Solar Beam for coverage, so charge moves will be walled by the Mandibuzz. So we stay in, we do reach a last-second Rock Tomb, and now we can come in with the Cryogonal and commit to a very aggressive farm down. They are double debuffed here, so of course, not going to shield the Aerial Ace, doesn't deal too much damage. They now come in with a Clodsire, and we are full sending Solar Beam. Solar Beam is non-stab. It still does decent damage there, but honestly, it's kind of underwhelming up against the Clodsire. But either way, we can shield the Stone Edge. Can we commit to a full farm down here? It would have been close. We actually don't get the farm down. We swap, but we still get the farm down now. The opponent comes back in just to be farmed down by the Ice Shard damage, and we come out with a Solar Beam loaded. So, of course, Solar Beam gonna be taking out the Malamar, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.